Good day, my dear Lovisians. Here am I again for this YouTube video just to help you in the understanding of this sixth module of your subject called ethics. So I thank Sir Nestor and my companions in the ethics for this PowerPoint presentation. So it's entitled Culture and Ethics. So here in my hands is a hard copy of the modules. So this is just a help, no, para mas maintindihan ninyo yung modules ninyo. Itong PowerPoint presentation na ito na gawa ng aming ethics team of professors. Okay? So culture and ethics. Meron bang relasyon ang etika sa kultura? No, yung what is right and wrong, ito ba depende sa kultura? Paano kapag yung kultura mo ay tama ito, sa kultura mo ay mali? So paano ito? Is there really a universal principle, universal ethical principles, o bahala, depende sa kultura? May mga kultura na monogamous, may mga kultura na polygamous. So this PowerPoint presentation, this YouTube video may help you in the understanding of your modules. As a moral agent, tayo yun, who is capable of acting with reference to what is right and wrong, he or she gradually learned and assimilated moral consciousness from his or her environment. No, man does not live in a vacuum. Ito yung natutunan ko sa philosophy. No? Man lives in a context and circumstance. Okay, so may kultura tayo. Thus, he or she was basically a product of his or her culture. Tayo, produkto tayo ng kulturang Pilipino. Kaya napakalakas yung epekto ng kulturang Pinoy sa atin. We are products of our culture. Man as living in a society who possesses culture, wala pong lipunan na walang kultura, responds to issues with a background of his environment. Okay? However, how are we going to treat culture as regards ethics? No? Paano nating itatrato ang kultura, no, in relation sa etika? According to Pekarsky, I don't know how it's pronounced, Pekarsky or Pekarsky, pero I prefer Pekarsky, no? Nandyan sa module ninyo. The role of culture in moral development points to two different, albeit interrelated questions. First, what role does culture play in moral development? So ano ba ang papel ng kultura sa ating pag-unlad sa ating moralidad? Second, what is the proper responsibility of a culture in guiding the moral growth of its members? So ano ang responsibilidad ng kultura sa sa ating development, sa ating growth, sa ating pag-usbong sa moralidad, no, bilang miyembro ng lipunan? Since culture influences the moral growth of children, okay, thus a community needs to view itself as a responsible agent for the moral growth of its members. Culture does play in the moral development of its members. Maalala ko yung kahalagahan ng kultura sa pananampalataya. No, maybe this is not something related to ethics, pero sabi ni John Paul II, Saint John Paul II, that no, in Spanish, no, fe es auténtica si se hace cultura. Sabi niya. So ibig sabihin, faith is authentic when it makes itself as a culture. Yung pananampalataya na natin ay nagiging kultura o parte ng kultura natin. Ibig sabihin ay talagang umusbong na, talagang rooted na ang evangelization and faith. But what is culture? Yan, nasa module po ninyo ito, my dear Louisians. The term culture is derived from the Latin word cultus, which means care, a care and attention provided to a human person as she or he grows into a mature person. So yun ibig sabihin ng cultus, no? Pag-aalaga, care. According to Alan G. Johnson, culture is the sum of symbols, ideas, forms of experiences, and material products associated with a social system. Culture is a very powerful force that affects or influences the lives and moral behavior of the members in a society. Kung minsan yung mga ginagawa po natin ay dahil po sa kultura. It shapes their understanding of good and bad, no? Moral character and personality. Alam po ninyo, I'm so very thankful, no? Talagang very beneficial sa akin na hindi lang sa Pilipinas ang pinag-istayan ko. I was given the privilege to be in Spain for almost 6 years, no? Almost 6 years, and I also learned Spanish, no, the Spanish culture na tayo, we were under the Spanish government for 300 years. So ang aking kultura na ngayon is basically sabihin natin 90% or 95% Filipino, but I also imbued, no, para bang na-inculturate rin sa akin ng Spanish culture. So combination po, no? So, ang kultura shapes our understanding of good and bad, moral character, and personality. Culture tells what individuals should do, what not to do, how things are to be done, and how to relate with other people. Okay? So, culture can be either material or non-material. So material, concrete and tangible things that man creates and uses like tools, weapons, clothing, artifacts, relics, and others. For example, sa ating agrikultura, no, meron yung sa kalabaw, no, may mga tools, no, mga weapons, yung pana, yung pananamit, artifacts, relics, and others. Or non-material, intangible products like knowledge, no, laws, teachings, customs, values, moral standards, and moral behavior. It is the non-material culture that ethics would like to focus on, hindi yung material, kundi yung non-material. People make culture. Culture would also inevitably make people. So if people make culture, culture will also make people. It is responsible for setting standards in the moral development of a person, ang kultura. So what is cultural relativism? So sa inyong module, no, sa page 4 merong about cultural relativism. Ibig sabihin ng relative is hindi siya absolute, depende sa kultura. Okay? So it is the idea that the person's beliefs, values, and practices should be understood based on the person's own culture rather than be judged against the criteria of another culture. For example, pag Filipino ka, you must be judged according to Filipino culture, not with Spanish culture. No? Ito yung isang article ni Jose Rizal, not defending the Filipinos, pero sabi niya, the reasons why Filipinos are indolent or why Filipinos are lazy. Okay? Culture is relative. It is very obvious that culture differs from one place to another. Yes, magkaibang kultura. Thus, culture makes us distinct and unique on how we perceive things. What is relativism? Relativism, in general, is the doctrine that knowledge is not always absolute and that it is always dependent on the subject who endeavors to pursue the truth. Relativism means what is true to you may not true to me. So, ibig sabihin, truth is relative. Ganun po ba? Thus, in relativism, the truth varies and is plural. Hindi siya absolute, no? Hindi siya singular, no? Okay? There is no universal truth in ethics. Yan. Okay, yan ang mahirap, no? Wala nang universal truth in ethics. Okay, anything is particular, anything is relative, anything is concrete, no? Wala nang katotohanan sa tama at mali. There are only customary practices specific to various cultures. When we speak of cultural relativism, we do not deny the reality of the diversity of culture. No? Makakaiba talaga ang kultura, ang Spanish culture sa Filipino culture. Okay? What does it suggest then? Cultural relativism suggests that an action, yung human action, is morally right if one's culture approves of it. Thus, in cultural relativism, moral rules are valid only for the society in which they emerge. And thus, it is society's approval or disapproval that makes something right or wrong. Let us forget that cultural relativism is not judging a culture to our own standard of what is right or wrong, because what is practiced and valued as good in one place may not be good in another. So ito ang tama sa amin, ito ang katotohanan sa amin, yan ang tama at katotohanan sa inyo. Let us not forget that we could no longer say that the customs of other societies are morally inferior to our own. Kapag yan ang pinapairal natin, ang cultural relativism. So, 5 claims of cultural relativism. Yan. Different societies have different moral codes. The moral code of society determines what is right within that society. Third, there is no universal truth in ethics. The moral code of our own society has no special status. It is but one among many. And panglima, it is arrogant for us to judge other cultures. For example, kung yung kultura mo ay okay sa iyo ang magkaroon ng maraming asawa, wala kaming karapatan na kami ay monogamous. Ganun yung kine-claim ng cultural relativism. So, gusto ba ninyo itong cultural relativism? Strength of cultural relativism. Of course, let us judge according to strength and weaknesses of this sort of paradigm or ideology of ethics. Okay? So, cultural relativism, okay, nasa module ninyo, promotes cooperation. Yan. Yan ang maganda sa promotes cooperation, equal society, pursue genuine interest without restrictions, encourages respect, authentic existence without fear. Weaknesses of cultural relativism, ito po, bias system, no, you have bias to others' culture, creates chaos and disorder, immorality and lack of discipline, limits human progress, and turns mere perceptions into truths. Yan po ang problema. Now we go to Filipino moral values. Now let us na also try to see yung kultura nating bilang mga Pinoy. Ang una na sa module po ninyo ay pakikipagkapwa-tao. Yan ang isang magandang ugali natin sa ating kultura bilang mga Pilipino. Yan. So pakibasa na lang ano ibig sabihin ng pakikipagkapwa-tao sa inyong modules. Sa pangalawa, family orientation. We are oriented to our family. Isa pa, joy and humor. O yan, no? Kahit may bagyo na, nakangiti pa rin tayo o nagpapatawa pa rin tayo. Kung may picture, nakikipag-picture tayo, di ba? Yan. Flexibility, adaptability, and creativity. Yan, nasa module po ninyo, pakibasa na lang po. No? And also, faith and religiosity. Yan. Okay, sabi doon sa inyong module, no, 85% ay Christian and 10% ay Muslim, 5% ay other religions. So we are religious by nature tayo mga Pilipino. Pang-anim ay ability to survive. Meron tayong malakas na resiliency. Yung image ng bamboo, no? Kahit na napakalakas ng bagyo, sinasayawan lang natin ang napakalakas na ihip ng hangin. Hard work and industry, okay? Yan yung mga Pilipino. And also hospitality. Yan. Okay? So other Filipino moral values na sa tingin ko hindi masyadong maganda o hindi maganda sa ating kultura. Una ay yung bahala na. Okay, kalin sa bathala na. Kahit ano, come what may. Utang na loob. Yan, hiya. Palabra de honor. Yan, kumpadrino system. Yan ang nangyayari sa ating politika. So, thank you for attending. Study well your class. Okay, so sa bawat Google Meet ng yung teachers, maybe if there's time, he will tell you some pointers sa inyong prelims. Sabihin ko na lang po, there will be 80 multiple choices sa inyong exam and 10 modified true or false. So ang exam ninyo is basically objective, okay? Para mabilis, madali pong mag-check. Pero of course, yung mga assessment ninyo ay tine-check namin, may mga essay, etc. So from cover to cover, basahin ninyo, i-review ninyo yung mga YouTube videos na in-upload ko from the lesson 1 to lesson 6, yung mga modules ninyo, and then kapag naintindihan ninyo ito ay walang problema. So good luck sa inyong prelims and do your best. Okay, so thank you and see you once again in the next YouTube video or in the next Google Meet. This is Father Jess Saliping signing off. Bye-bye.